Hi everyone, it's Kent here from Plugins 4D. Today I'm going to take you through how to use the new CreamyStrand plugin. This is available now for all Patreons. Under Plugins 4D, you'll find a CreamyStrand entry, and under there will be CreamyStrand. This is what you need to run these simulations. Now, if you don't know what CreamyStrand is, I'll bring up the website here. Now, this is the website from the research from the University of Columbia University. These are the guys that have made this. And what I'm going to show you today is just this particular part right here. Not this bit, the next one coming up, this bit here. So I've simulated this bit already. So I'm just going to show you that bit and where you can simulate that and how you can do that. Now, CreamyStrand is open source on GitHub, and what I've done is taken all the code and I've integrated into Cinema 4D to allow you to run all of their simulations that they've given you. And we can find the GitHub link on this page here. And you'll actually need to download these as well. So here you can find more information on it, on what this is. And if you come under clone and go download zip file, then you can download this to your computer. And when you have that, the assets you're going to need are under assets. And the ones I'm looking at today are under unit tests, drag, and I'm going to be loading in this XML file here. So these are the XML files. You can load in any of these you want. This is the one that I'm loading, but there's a lot in here in all these different folders, and there's even very, very large ones under large examples. So if you've got a very, very powerful machine with a whole lot of cores, maybe you want to try these. And yeah, those are where they all are under assets. So again, you're going to need these to use this plugin. In future, I'll be allowing you to set up the simulations within Cinema 4D, and that will produce those XML files and then enable you to run the simulations as well. Okay, so that's the code. That's where it all comes from. That's where your assets are. Make sure you download that. And once you've done that, we'll just load in our XML. So over here, I'm going to load in that CreamyStrand one. That's what I'm loading in. And then I'm going to output my files to temp demo. And you just click run. Don't change any of these settings here. Just leave them be at the moment. But the save PLY files, that's going to actually save out the PLY files. And those are what you actually really need. And that simulation is now running, and what it's doing is it's writing out into a folder that is in that location, and it uses the name of the XML file and the current date and time. If you open up this, you'll see all these files being created. There's the fluid files, there's these mesh files, and there's also these ones called rods, these rod files. Now these are like the hairs or the strings or the noodles in the scene. So if you let that run for a while, and for a while, it depends how long you want it to run for, really. Let's just bring up my cores and we'll see what the process is there. So you can see here, I'm simulating right now, and I'm using 100% of my cores. So all of them are going. They're all working at 3.53 gigahertz, running this simulation. So it's very intensive, highly optimized, multi-threaded, will utilize all of your system. This is still responsive. If you want to stop it at any time, you can just click stop or pause. But at the moment, you can't restart these. It may actually crash Cinema 4D if you try and run it again. So I advise just to let it run for as long as you'd like it to run, and just check the directory to see how many frames you've got right now. Later on, I'll add a frame count and options to set it to go for a certain specific amount of time or a specific certain amount of frames. But at the moment, this is what you've got. So we've got 240 frames there. And when you think you've got enough there, then you can just stop it and it'll stop the simulation. And you can close that dialog. Now you want to view these in Cinema 4D. So we come up to Plugins 4D again, and we go CS Fluid. CS for CreamyStrand. Now again, this is experimental as well, this object here. And I'll be changing these and removing these around a bit. But at the moment, I've put it all into this one little node here. And what you do here is you load in one of those fluid files. So here, I have one of these files in that directory, and I want to load it into that slot. So I'm just going to open that up, go into that folder, and I'm going to select just any of these files in here at all. And that's going to load the PLY files in for your current frame. So it's making it into a volume. So this is a volume object. And if I start scrubbing along, you see it's loading the files in for the frame. Now I think I had about 240 frames in there, so we'll just extend that out to 240 frames. Now you can see that coming in. Now these files also have meshes and the rods, so you can load those in as well. Just click on load meshes and you get the meshes from the scene, and load rods. Now the meshes are not changed during the simulation, at least not at this point, but they may be later on. But the rods do deform during the simulation. So if you can see here, they're being deformed. You can see those being deformed as the fluid lands on top of it. Now if you want to render this, you're going to need to do something with the fluid. So you need to create a volume measure, and you can put that under the volume measure, and then you'll be able to adjust that a little bit. And I'll add extra settings to make this more smoother as well later on. But for now, you can also adjust a little bit by putting it under a builder first, and then putting the builder under the volume measure. And then in the builder, make sure you set that to 0.07 actually is the number for this particular one. And then I can actually put a smooth above it, and it'll look a lot better there. But you'll get some disappearing. So that's like a trial and error kind of thing. So at the moment, just to make sure it does render, and the size of everything is set correctly in the fluid. This is my preferred method, is to put it straight under a mesher there, and you'll see the simulation there. Okay, now that simulation I showed in that video is actually a lot more complex than these few frames here, so I've actually already got that loaded as well. So let me just load that in. What I'm going to do is just delete everything in my scene there, create a new CS fluid, and I'm going to load this file in. So this one has 1,500 frames, so let that run for approximately half an hour on my 10-core machine, and that was the simulation that was generated, which is what we saw in that video. Now this is just showing the volume there. I'm going to load in the meshes and load in the rods as well. And you can see it there. Catching on to the rods and just falling off. So the playback is a little bit slow because this is, loading in a POR file every single frame for all the rods and all of these, and then it's generating the volume and putting the volume into the scene. So the playback will be a little bit slow interactively, but you can pause it. And if we just put that under a volume measure, and then we can just render it out. And there's your scene there. Okay, so that's it for now. One thing to note in addition to all this is that there is a PLY file importer as well. So if I just bring back that directory there, this is the simulation I ran before, and you see these are meshes. So any of these meshes, if I just drag and drop a mesh in, it's loading in the geometry. So you can now load in geometry from PLY files. And if I load in a volume, if I was to drag in one of those volume files, the fluid files, this is actually just points. Let's drag that one in, and I'll just show you that if you click on this and view the points, you'll see it's actually points. So these PLY files are all points. So again, you can use them with any other system in Cinema 4D as well. If you don't want to use my CS Fluid, you can load those in and render those however you would like as well. Okay, so that's it from this update for today. Have fun using this. Let me know if it doesn't work for you. If you are unable to run this plugin, it's only available for Windows 10, as it was compiled on Windows 10. If it doesn't load, let me know. If you have any issues with it, also let me know. Other than that, have fun, and we'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.